What's up? Welcome back to the Metalhead Car Show. There are so many cool movie cars out there, and for the most part, the movie cars are sometimes the star of the show. I think if anyone were to identify kind of the definitive parts of movies or shows like Dukes of Hazzard, Back to the Future, Smokey and the Bandit, they would say the Charger, the DeLorean, and the Trans Am. But today I want to look at a movie car that I think was so important and so influential to some extent, but only got literal seconds on screen. Now, you may have heard of a media company called Disney, and Disney owns this small brand known as Marvel. And Marvel made this small movie called The Avengers. I think a few people went to go see it. Now, at this point in time, Marvel had a license with Acura, which is why in the first Thor movie and the first Avengers movie, among maybe one or two more, they were all using Acuras. But for the first movie, Tony Stark was known to drive the Audi R8. I think that made so many people, kind of my age group, into the R8, seeing someone that cool driving one. But seeing how the license changed, it suddenly made sense to see Tony Stark driving a new Acura NSX. Yes, that NSX. But there's one thing I've said that is totally wrong, and that is the new part. Because yes, although it does look like a Acura NSX, and we are getting just a couple years after that, it's very much not new. One of Marvel's directors gave a Acura designer, Dave Merrick, which I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, 3 months to build something with the Acura badge that would look really cool for the Avengers movie. One-off car, 3 months, movie that made a pile of money, kind of a big job. So he decided it needed to be a modernized NSX, which, as we've talked about in the past, Acura was in the process of building something along the lines of an NSX at that point, which we discovered was the Honda HSV10, which probably would have been a little bit cooler, but that's completely aside the point. To build this NSX, Dave started with a 1992 Acura NSX with 250,000 miles on it. Which, looking at these photos, it's kind of hard to think about because this looks really nice. Like, it's super clean, and it went from this to this in favor for the movie. Along with Dave Merrick, the company that did it was TransFX. And their main job at first was to pull the entire body off to bring it down to the chassis. Now with this, they made the entire front end out of fiberglass and the rear end out of foam. It needed to look good on camera for 10 seconds. It could be made of whatever they wanted. Now despite it had this dramatic overhaul to be this brand new NSX Spider, what's funny about it is the engine and interior were left pretty much completely untouched. Original 92 Honda NSX interior along with the 270 horsepower all aluminum 3-liter V6. Now this project really shows kind of the time, because at that point in time NSXs weren't that expensive. I mean, you could find one of these things with reasonable mileage in Canada for about $35,000, sometimes closer to $30,000. Now I don't know what Marvel paid for this NSX, but a really clean, super high mile early NSX, honestly, this probably would have been a $20,000 to $25,000 car American. As when now, that exact car would probably be at least $70,000 even with the mileage. Funny how things change. One thing I've always been fascinated about this car is how much influence did Honda take from this car into what we now know as the production NSX, the Gen 2 NSX. Because Honda showed off the NSX prototype in 2014, which had some changes to it. It came out a little bit differently, but nonetheless, this was debuted as a one-off prototype movie car 2 years beforehand. It's safe to assume Honda did already have this in production, but I would love to know how much influence came from this. And I mentioned that the engine was left stock. Truthfully, it didn't matter because the car was also limited to 30 miles per hour. I assume that's because of the foam rear end and is probably being held on by hopes and dreams. But nonetheless, I find this thing really cool. But I want to know, what do you think? Do you like this thing, and do you think this had influence towards the production NSX? And if you saw the original Avengers movie when it was new, I want to know, what did you originally think when you first saw the NSX Spider on screen? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed what you've seen. I post on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I'll see you later.